Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome. Welcome to the garden. Welcome to Garden Conversations with Rose. I know this isn't the usual manner in which I prefer to do a presentation to you this morning, but I am pressed. I'm holding in my hand here a mango that fell from my tree perhaps about an hour or an hour and a half ago. And as I'm holding it, I'm remembering some posts that I made in addition to a poem that I wrote entitled Marked. And I remember as I celebrated every month of Garden Conversations with Rose, in its initial stages, I was looking for some sort of inspiration to write a poem. And I remembered, so I'm just going back now, I remembered that I was to receive a couple of mangoes from a colleague, and when I had bitten into the mango, the juiciness of the mango, I looked at the outside of the mango. Now this one is full. It isn't quite ripe, it's full. Perhaps persons who like to eat mangoes in this manner probably could do a mango salad. It's full, but it isn't ripe. And I remember that I said when I bit into the mango how juicy it was. I had anticipated receiving mangoes, and so the inspiration for the poem Marked, in the poem Marked, I spoke about how our young girls are groomed for sexual abuse, how much they resemble a mango, a ripe, juicy, rosy red mango that looks good, looks full, looks enticing, and the evil abusers couldn't wait to bite into, to have the fill, to do the evil thing to our young girls. And I'm holding this mango and thinking about the words that I will say to you in a bit. So I've been up here for a few hours, having gotten up to hang out some clothes from last night's laundry. And as usual, I would sit out there and just have my quiet space, take some pics, maybe to later post, and of course joined by my pet cat Sophia, who I think understands fully well the importance of companionship and calm and tranquility. And so while I sat there, I determined that I would read a bit of an article from the newspaper this morning. And of course that article really got me triggered, because the article spoke about a youngster, a young adult male at the age of 21 who allegedly had sexually abused his 5-year-old niece. That got me triggered, really, because I'm thinking, this is really twisted and evil and debauched. This is gross, this is unacceptable, this is wrong. I read a lot of the comments where many persons were saying that the youngster should receive some drastic preventive actions. A lot of things were said. I myself made comments as well. And while I am agreeing fully that the youngster ought to be made accountable and get the consequence of his action, I wish to say that his action is not isolated, in that it speaks to much more than what we're doing in society. So I'm thinking about all the patterns that all the men have left behind, where abuse in many spheres of our society. And again, I'm thinking about another poem I wrote when I said those men, those evil men, wicked men, boy men, and all sorts of men that perpetrate abuse. And they are found in so many spheres in our society, so many areas. It speaks to how casual we are about sexual activity or lust. Just think about the stories that we read from MUB, and you know how twisted we are. And it isn't saying that, again, that the youngster isn't responsible. He is responsible. He's an adult. But I'm just saying that the thing goes deeper. There's a perversion in our society as it relates to sexual activity, and also I am of the strong view that our women and girls are looked upon as fair game for sex and sexual activity. It also speaks to the fact that persons believe that instant gratification must be met at all costs. The youngster said he was horny and needed sex. He didn't care about who he was going to have to do it with, and so the 5-year-old was available, and so he felt it necessary to have her. He didn't think. He didn't care to think. And there are many others, I believe, who are thinking just like he is thinking. It also speaks to the fact that he tried to deceive by initially denying. There are many of us who do those things and we think it's okay. It speaks to the way we don't believe that persons must be held accountable because maybe of their standing in society. It speaks, as I said before, to the pattern that our old women would have left, years and years of abuse, and then we have our youngsters looking on. They think it's okay. It's what we do. It's what we engage in. It's how we look at those things. It's okay. She's a girl. Oh, she's a woman. She's a girl. She can get whatever she wants to get and all these things. We ought to do better. We must do better. Sexual abuse is a no-no, irrespective of the age or even the gender. But there is something to be said about how we treat our women and girls. The values that we have or do not have. The casual way in which we talk about sex, the things we turn blind eyes to, the things that we enable and encourage, the things we laugh at, the things we discuss, the things we say. Our own personal behavior patterns, the things we teach our children. So there's some teaching that needs to be done to our youngsters as well. It doesn't mean because you want something, you gotta have it at all costs. Often said, I think sometimes we live in a microwave generation where the youngsters think they can have everything they want. Our older people think so sometimes too. But there is something to be said about the way we look at sexual behavior and sexual activity, women and girls, abuse. We need to do better. We have to change all of that. And while we're at it, because this month is the month of May Mental Health Awareness Month, even if the youngster receives the punitive measures that he deserves, we must also think about rehabilitation. Remember, we don't live in a society with one gender, and there must always be balance in nature. So the idea of rehabilitation must also play a role. We must also look about our mental health, because the choices we make tell a lot about how balanced we are. Have a great day, everybody. Have a blessed weekend. We must do better. We must.